So here we are. It's Monday, which means there's some news of the day, which includes the NHL's Stars of the Week and a minor trade that took place last night. And I had people saying, "Are you gonna do a video on this?" No. So what happened is simple. Alex Biega passed through waivers last week, and he cleared. And Jim Benning wanted to give him a place to play. Wanted to send him somewhere where he'd get a chance to play because he didn't think that Biega was going to be in our plans this year. It's the same thing that happened last year with Sam Gagner. Sam Gagner was traded because he wanted to give him, a chance to play. And it's something that I use as a defense of Jim Benning. While, Jim Benning is not, and I didn't mention him in the top 10 GMs video because he doesn't belong there. I think he gets a lot of hate that's misdirected, misguided, but Jim Benning in general, he does try to do what's right by the players, and in this case, he finds Biega a landing spot with Detroit. David Pope comes back from Detroit. This is just a move where Pope does not play for the Canucks. He split time between the East Coast and American League last year. He's 25 years of age. He's not going to be an NHL level player. This is a move strictly done so that Biega gets a chance at some playing time. And for Detroit fans who may not know who Biega is, I will say this. Biega is a number 7 defenseman. He's not a top 6 guy. He's very hardworking. Never once complained about not being in the lineup for Vancouver. Good mental attitude and just seems like a general all-around really nice guy. So wish him the best, and it's purely a minor move made, and I can't wait until Biega plays in the NHL, and then people will come pile on to Benning and go, well, see, he traded away a guy who can play in the NHL, and he got back a guy who doesn't, and it's not always that simple. I was reading an article this morning on somebody complaining about the McCann trade, and I thought, yeah, I was complaining about that one 3 years ago. It's just time to move on from some of this stuff. Before I move on from this, I will say this. At the time of the Jared McCann trade, there were veterans in the locker room that did not like Jared McCann's attitude, and that's why McCann got moved, is that he was not meshing at all with the veteran leadership of the Vancouver Canucks. And I do think that while McCann is playing well for Pittsburgh, and I wish him the best, and I like McCann, I don't know that he would have evolved into that player if he'd stayed in Vancouver. I don't. And some of the points he got last year, he was playing on a line with some pretty good players. So it's really easy to look back, and it's really easy to criticize, and eventually this trade will get criticized as giving up an NHL level player for somebody who isn't. But Biega wasn't going to play for Vancouver this year. He's not 21 years of age himself, and Benning gave him a chance to play somewhere. So, again, doing what's right by the player, I do respect that. Moving along, the 3 stars of the week. Mika Zibanejad for the Rangers, for these guys, is your number 1 star of the week. Number 2, Anthony Mantha of the Detroit Red Wings. Those 4 goals last night got him there. And Austin Matthews is number 3 from those Toronto Maple Leafs. So, pretty good week for these 3 guys. Stars of the week is interesting because you very rarely see the same players get star of the week more than once. So, that means Zibanejad next week probably isn't top 3. But again, getting off to a really fast start, these 3 guys have got off to that fast start. They don't have to worry about when is he going to score his first goal, what's wrong with him, fans complaining, and all 3 players. Let us respect that all 3 players play for an Original 6 franchise. That's interesting and important as well, isn't it? It's not important. They're saying it's not important. Okay. I want to also talk about last night on Hometown Hockey. They had a piece on Wes McCauley. I do not remember his dad, John McCauley, calling a game. I'm too young to remember. But Wes McCauley is an amazing referee. So if you want to go over to Sportsnet and check out, they have a whole article on it and everything. Really, honestly, Wes McCauley, it's a good story of how he became an NHL defenseman, NHL level referee. His playing career didn't go very far, but his refereeing career has. And they said he took to it very, very easily. And there was a lot of footage in it about how of him, audio of him mic'd up in games and talking to players. My favorite was, I think, when he was talking to, I think it was Morgan Riley, and he said, "I have to talk to you. Austin won't come over and talk to me because I'm mic'd up." So I thought that was kind of a funny moment, and he showed him too with Marinson. Another one that stood out to me was him with Marinson saying, "I know it was hard for you not to grab on there, and start whatever, and thanks, I understand." Meaning, there was a tense play there, and it could have turned into something else, and Marinson turned the other cheek rather than turn it into a brawl or a scrum. And Wes wanted to go over and tell him, "Hey, that's a tough situation. Thanks." And there was another one too where, and again, I recommend it, where he was talking to, I want to say it was the Capitals. He's talking to their coach, whether it was likely Reardon. I don't know when the footage was from though. And he said, "Look, I can't let that goal stand because you wouldn't like it if the goal was against you guys and I let it stand. So you got to understand. I really appreciate a referee that goes over and explains himself. A referee that says, 'I'm not perfect.'" And that was one of the other clips too, was him saying, "Hey, I'm not perfect. I miss stuff. Thank you." He said that his dad always gave him, a piece of advice, which was, call the game misconducts. What was it? Call the game misconducts. Only call the obvious stuff. And then there was a third, so you'd have to go over and check that out to see what it was. But a very simplistic way of calling the game. And watching this, I thought, it's no wonder he's a good referee, because he just looks at it from a very simplistic attitude. Not overly complicated, just very simplistic. If you're a Capitals fan, I can only tell you that Michael Kempny reportedly is close, but he won't play tomorrow against Dallas. So Kempny is close. Once Kempny comes back, that helps Washington's defense tremendously, but he's not back yet. If you're a Tampa fan and you're frustrated, good news. Steven Stamkos is frustrated too, and what he said after last night's game was he feels like the team is just expecting their skill to just take over. There does seem to be a laziness, and it's really weird because all regular season last year, this wasn't a problem. They get the 62 wins, they were fantastic, and it's like at that point they went, "All right, we're the best." And there was a lack of urgency in that series against Columbus, which really stood out. In the first game, it looked like they were going to blow the doors off Columbus, and then they just kind of stopped playing. And they didn't start playing again until Game 4 when they were about to be eliminated. So, he's just saying what we've been watching for the last 7 games they've played, the 4 in the playoffs and now 3 in the regular season. They're not working very hard. And if you don't work in this league, you're done. I'm already seeing Tampa fans complaining about Cooper, and you know what? Cooper's got to get a little more fired up. Because I know this is October, and I realize that we've got 79 more games to go for Tampa, but there needs to be something. When a team has 2 shots in 42 minutes, if John Tortorella was behind that bench, he's tearing a strip off some guys. John Tortorella doesn't care what the record is. He doesn't care what month it is. He's tearing a strip off players. And I understand that way of coaching is kind of going by the wayside, but there has to be some level of responsibility on the players where you go, okay, I better pick it up or else coach is going to bench me. And maybe that's not a threat for Tampa. Maybe these guys feel like, well, this is our spot. This is where we are. Yeah, we're pretty darn good. Which is not a good sign if that's the case. So, if you're a frustrated Tampa fan, you're not alone. The players are getting frustrated, and all I can think is, hey, Stammer, you got to be one of the guys who's a solution out there. You were a part of only 2 shots in 42 minutes of action. That's not enough. For Carolina, I'm going to end on this. So the Storm Surge is back. They're back to doing just simple little. Yesterday was just the guys jumping into the glass. And you know what? I say leave it at that. Last year, I felt like when it was really produced, mass-produced, and you get, Evander Holyfield and all this, some of it's fun, but it gets kind of ridiculous. So I'm hoping that with Carolina this year, they don't get ridiculous with the Storm Surge. Just let the players figure it out on the bench and do something. Or, just keep it simple. Make it feel organic rather than set up. It really, You know, like I said, and I said this last year too, that I felt that it got overproduced, and it was taking a lot longer. The one thing is, if you have center ice like I do, or you watch NHL like I do, you have to watch the Carolina feed if you want to watch the Storm Surge. For some reason, other teams and their broadcast don't want to show the Storm Surge. I'm not sure why that would be, but they're still not showing it, at least up here on center ice. The feed cuts off. So I'm like, all right, so they're done. They're not showing the Storm Surge there. I got to go over to the Carolina feed. And I also want to give props to Carolina's John Forsland. I get asked a lot about who my favorite broadcasters are. Forsland is fantastic. So, you know, I'm not going to go and do a top 10 again because that was more of a headache than it was worth. But, yeah, Carolina's, just their broadcasts in general are pretty darn solid. So there you go. Just sort of a news of the day type video for Monday, October 7th. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Just happened upon this video while browsing your way around the internet. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.